Sarah, welcome back to my channel, or for those of you who are watching for the first time, welcome to my channel. On this channel, I create videos about the college and graduate school application processes so that you guys have the best shot of getting into the schools of your dreams. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about your Common App essay, which is a pretty big part of your college application. Now, I want to make it known that there are a number of different application systems. So the Common Application System is one. You guys may have heard of the Coalition app. You guys may have heard of UC or University of California applications, Texas school applications. Not every college uses the same application system. However, I really encourage my students to fill out the Common Application first because all of the other applications kind of are in a similar format to the Common App. The Common App essay, however, is the longest essay of all the different essay prompts for all the different applications. And so I think it's a lot easier to write a longer essay and then cut it down for other applications based on what the requirements of those applications are. So for the duration of this video, I'm going to be specifically talking about the Common App essay, how to approach the Common App essay, but know that that essay you create for your Common App is a really good option to use for your other applications, just with a few edits. So now let's talk about some of the requirements of your Common App essay. First and foremost is the word limit. There is a 650 word limit for your Common App essay. Now, you can write fewer than 650 words, that's totally fine, but you can't write beyond that 650 word mark. I don't encourage you to write too few words though. I've had students who are like, how about I submit a 300 word essay? I think in general, you want to stick between about 500 to 650 words so that you can properly express yourself and sell yourself in your essay. The second requirement of your Common App essay is that it fits one of 7 categories. Categories 1 through 6 are different questions that the Common Application offers you to address in your essay. These might be things like talk about a challenge and how you've overcome it. Classic essay-based questions when a school is trying to get to know you. Option 7, however, is a little bit different. It basically is a free slate to write whatever essay you want. And if possible, I really encourage you to choose option 7 for your Common App essay. And here's why. Options number 1 through 6 are all questions that lots and lots of students answer. And as an admissions officer, they're reading answers to those questions over and over and over again. And although your challenge you face might be different than your fellow applicants' challenge they face, in general, the essays tend to take a kind of similar framework and can become repetitive if the admissions officer is reading them over and over again. And so I think if you can, choose option 7 to write an essay that's really different from the essays your fellow applicants are submitting. Something admissions officers don't read all the time because that's really going to make you stand out from those around you. However, if you try really hard, you brainstorm, you can't come up with anything to write on your own, then go back and read options 1 through 6 and pick the question that you feel you can talk most about in a way that really reflects positively on you as an applicant. And then the last thing that's sort of required for your Common App essay is that it be sent to all of the schools you're applying to. So you don't want to include things like specific college names or specific locations when you're writing your Common App essay because every single school is going to be receiving that essay, and so you don't want to send them something that's not really applicable to them. And that's really all there is to it. And so as you can tell, there aren't that many guidelines for actually writing this essay, which leaves many students feeling pretty overwhelmed and feeling pretty scared about how best to approach it. And so I'm now going to talk about some tips and tricks for how to write the best Common App essay that you possibly can. The Common App essay is a really important part of your application. It is really a chance for you to shine and for you to have some character and personality in your application. And so it's really important that you spend quite a while writing this essay and making sure it's the best essay you could possibly produce. So with the tips that I'm now going to talk about, I hope that you guys will be able to create that perfect essay. Tip number 1, don't rush this process. As I just said, the Common App essay is really important. And so it's necessary that you dedicate a fair amount of time to perfecting this essay. A fair amount of time does not equal the 4 days before your application is due, but rather try to work on this application weeks or even months before your application is due. Wait until you feel particularly creative or inspired and bang out a first draft. And even though it might be a terrible first draft, work on making subsequent drafts or bringing new ideas into your essay. If you allow sufficient time to work on this essay, you're going to really be able to polish it up and make it beautiful, as opposed to just having this sort of rushed and thrown together essay. My second tip is don't consider length when you're first writing. A lot of students kind of know that 650 word limit in the back of their mind, and they really think about it when they're writing the first draft of their essay. And I don't recommend that at all because it really inhibits the creative process when you're actually writing. Instead, I recommend you just get all your thoughts out on paper. Don't worry if it's 500 words or 2,000 words. Really just produce what your thoughts are, and then once you have a really nice draft of your thoughts, then you can work on sort of cutting it down to fit the word limit that the applications require. My third tip is avoid using cliches when writing your essay. So I can't tell you how many essays I've read that are about a student who took a volunteer trip to Africa and who found out from that trip that they just want to help the world and they're so thankful for everything they have and blah, 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 blah. That is such an overused topic in Common App essays, and there are a lot of other overused common topics. So try to avoid things that kind of sound cliche. Try to avoid things that sound like they're the plot line of a rom-com movie instead of a part of your actual life. And so when you're trying to brainstorm topics for this essay, really dig deep and think about experiences you've had, stories you can share that are really different and unique than what other people may have experienced, because that's going to be one way to ensure that your essay doesn't sound like 200 other essays out there. My fourth suggestion is don't repeat your resume. Sometimes students are really tempted to spend the 650 words of that Common App essay just talking about all the things they've accomplished. And by the end of the essay, it really just sounds like they're reiterating their resume, just using a few more beautiful, flowy words. And avoid the temptation to do that. While it is absolutely fine to talk about a few accomplishments within your Common App essay, the essay should not read like a resume. It should not just be a list of all the things that you've done over the course of your high school career. My next tip is don't write formally. Now, until this point, most of the essays you've probably written have been for an English class, and so it has that typical 5-paragraph English class format. It uses lots of words and sentences that start with therefore or however. But when you're writing your Common App essay, try your absolute best to kind of stay away from that structure, that formality, and that sort of English class vibe. Instead, try to be as unique and personal in your essay as possible. I like to tell my students to almost treat this as a long text message to a really good friend. Something that really shows your emotions and your thoughts and your personality and doesn't feel like you're submitting this essay for an English class. Now, use proper grammar, you want to use appropriate language and all of that. I'm not saying completely disregard the rules of English, but try your best to have as much personality and informality in that essay as possible. My next suggestion is sell yourself in this essay. I've read essays before where students talk about challenges they faced and then just end the essay on that sad note. That is not what you want to be doing with this essay. Rather, if you talk about a challenge, then transition into talking about ways that you overcame that challenge and how you have grown so much as a result of that challenge you faced. Make sure that in this essay, you are selling yourself as an excellent candidate for whatever schools you're applying to. You should read that essay and then think, wow, I'd admit me if I was a college. Instead of being like, oh, this girl kind of has some issues and this seems like a red flag and let's just not accept this applicant. And so while you want to be truthful and honest and really clear about who you are as an applicant, you also want to make sure that you're putting a positive spin on whatever you're writing so that when the admissions officer is reading this essay, they're really drawn to you as an applicant. My next suggestion is write a strong beginning and an end. The beginning of your Common App essay should really pull the reader in, whether you're saying a statement that's going to shock them or you're asking a question that's going to intrigue them. You want something that is going to make them want to keep reading your essay instead of just starting out with, hello, my name is Sarah and I really want to go to college. Like, no one wants to keep reading that. Instead, bring in something that's interesting and exciting and or confusing or scary, and so that your reader has a lot of motivation to keep going and actually read the rest of your essay. And then when you end your essay, you want to end it on a note that kind of ties back into that unique original beginning. If you've started with a question that intrigues the reader, end the essay by finally answering that question. Or, if you scared your reader in the beginning, you end the essay by kind of referencing that initial fear that the reader had. And I think having that beginning and that end really helps to bring things full circle and makes your essay really stand out. My next tip is have other people read this essay. Do not just write and edit this essay and submit it without having another set of eyes look over it. In fact, I actually encourage you to have 3 different types of people read this essay. The first is someone who knows you really well, whether that's a close friend or a parent. Someone who can read the essay to ensure that it is an accurate reflection of who you are as a person, so that they can make sure that your voice has come through in this essay and that it really just sounds like you. The second person I recommend reading it is someone who knows how the college application process works. Someone who's familiar with what college admissions officers are looking for when reading these essays. So that if you haven't hit the mark, they can tell you that and help you restructure your essay so that it's a better fit for what colleges are looking for. And then I finally recommend having someone read this essay who's familiar with grammar rules and can really just copy edit your essay to make sure that every punctuation is correct, that verb tenses align with subjects, the whole 9 yards. You don't want to submit something with grammatical errors because it's going to look very careless and then obviously not reflect well on you as an applicant. And maybe there's someone who knows you really well, who also knows college application stuff really well, and also is really good at grammar rules. That's great. Then just have them do all 3 jobs. But make sure that those 3 jobs are accomplished, whether it's one person or 3 separate people doing them. My next tip is only write something that could be written by you. This is what I mean by that. Let's say you write your Common App essay, you take your name off of it, and you give it to a friend. And then 9 other people also write Common App essays and give it to that same friend. Your friend should be able to read those 10 essays and easily pick out which one of those essays was written by you. If so, that means your essay is really unique. It means that you've really stood out in your essay and your personality really has shined. However, if they're not really sure which ones you've written, it means that you have not come out well enough in your essay, that you've not been unique enough, and that you've not really shown who you are as a person in your essay sufficiently. And then my final tip is make this essay part of your application story. I tell my students all the time that their application should tell some type of story about who they are. You don't want just different pieces of an application that don't seem to go together at all. Rather, you should find a way to weave your different activities, your different courses, your different awards and honors, and the different essays you write into something that forms a cohesive story about who you are as an applicant and what you bring to the table when colleges are considering accepting you. And so use this essay to tie together all the different parts of your application that might not otherwise fit together too well. Because at the end of the day, if you can create an application that tells a beautiful story that really highlights your strengths and talents in a cohesive way, that is going to be your greatest chance of getting into the colleges that you guys want to go to. And so those are my 10 tips for writing a Common App essay. I hope they were helpful. I hope that you guys feel a little less overwhelmed when you think about starting that essay. And if you have any more questions on writing your Common App essay, either send me an email or comment on this video and I'll get back to you guys as quickly as possible. If you learned anything at all from this video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more tips and tricks about the college application process. Guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.